The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has warned political parties in the country against the violation of electoral timelines as well as the provision of new Electoral Act 2022 as amended, noting that it had on Saturday 26 February 2022 released the timetable and schedules of activity for the forthcoming elections. The electoral umpire said it will stick to the timeline and also monitor political parties and primaries. We will now get perspective from a public affairs analyst, Jide Ojo, who is now joining us virtually. Good morning, Mr. Jide.
Good morning. Good.
It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning. You would have been following development, especially from the political umpire yesterday, restating that this timetable is sacrosanct. There will be no changing it, and urging political parties to ensure that they do everything to keep to that timeline. What do you make of that critical reminder from the umpire?
Thank you very much. Good morning, and every part of the country where Trust TV is. Like I said on another television program yesterday night, it shows the regulator is working. It does not have to do it, but it's just as decided that these political parties have to be reminded of what the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 is. Like Okoye said in that press release, the party primaries are to hold between 4th April and 3rd June. And there are going to be elections in 2023 in 1,491 constituencies. And also that they need to strictly follow provisions of Electoral 2022, particularly Section 1, as well as Section 84, which has to do with party primaries. Section 29, Section 1, and Section 84, Subsection both are saying that if you emerge from an invalid list, your will be processed by INEC, and counterproductive for those aspirants who their parties go through the due process of what the legislation, the legal elections has prescribed.
Okay. So, Mr. Jide, how aware would you say Nigerian political parties are, of the provisions in the new Electoral Act?
I'm not hearing you again. I want to say. Hello? Please come back.
Okay, let me take that again. My question is, how would you say, how aware are Nigerian political parties with, the provisions of the new Electoral Act as amended?
Well, unfortunately, they are not very. Recall that the act came into being on Friday, 25th of February 2022. That's barely less than 2 months, barely a month ago. And in the course of time, I was at a program last week in Lagos, a retreat organized for Interparty Advisory Council. And I did tell the chairman of the council that one of the things he ought to have done after that electoral act was signed into law was to organize capacity building sessions for members of the IPAC so that they come to terms with provisions in the electoral act as it relates to party primaries, as it relates to campaign, as it relates to campaign finance limits, and all of that. And he promised that. So I've done my own bit in my column in the Punch newspaper. I've done series of articles enlightening the. In fact, last week, that was what I dwelt upon, understanding the campaign finance law in Nigeria. I've also taken up issues of the new changes in the as it relates to political parties and contestants. For 2 weeks, it was serialized in my column. So, and I think what you are doing as Media House, the Media Trust Limited, is also geared towards enlightening the public. But it is very important for all these political parties to assess the Electoral Act 2022 and have their legal department organize in-house sessions for them to bring them up to speed about the provisions of the Act, which might impact on their participation in the 2023 elections.
You have observed, Jide, would you say that given the body language and the activities of the party, that they seem to be streamlining their activities in strict compliance with the timetable that was released sometimes in February? Do you see any danger in any of these political parties running foul of these timelines?
Well, if they do, it's their own luck. The electoral umpire has done its own bit, and the government has done its own bit. The National Assembly has done its own bit. They have issued I saw that even INEC has to adjust its electoral postponing the 2023 election from February 18 to 25, and the one from March 4 to March 11. So if the umpire can adjust its set, then there is nothing that stops political parties from also getting prepared. You see, election is a serious business, my brother and sister. Know full well that this is about leadership recruitment in Nigeria. These leaders we are going to be recruiting through the elections are the ones that will control the destiny of this country for the next 4 years. So any political party worth its salt who wants to participate and field candidate in the forthcoming election will need to they do not run foul of the provisions of the law. And that's why I feel that all the 18 registered political parties by now should have been able to access the signed copy of the Electoral Act and organize sessions. If they don't have in-house capacity to do it, I'm available as a consultant. I can help them organize capacity building 1 or 2 days to bring them up to speed about it that they needed to be aware of that affects parties and contestants. Because as I said in my column in the Punch, I did say that in 19, ahead of the election, did you know that some parties did not know the age qualification of governorship candidates? They were even fielding candidates who are less than 35 years old for governorship election, whereas the law says you have to be 35 years and above, either as a candidate or as a running mate to the governorship candidate. And that was what happened to some also that INEC had to refuse to process the nomination of some political parties in Bayelsa, in Kogi, and even during the, although they didn't wield that slick during the 2019 elections, but in Bayelsa and Kogi, about 16 political parties are affected where INEC refused to process their nomination on the basis that they were not in compliance with the provision of Electoral 2010 as amended.
Jide, thank you for those perspective. Clearly, it does appear that if you're a political party and you're in the running for the 2023 election, it is your business, to get enlightened, to get prepared, even though Jide has seized the opportunity of this program to do a free advert on himself. But does it stop there? For us to build the kind of awareness and political participation come 2023, which other stakeholders, especially the government, should be interested in this timeline and to take up the role of this education, just to augment, if you like, or complement what INEC or the political party are supposed to be doing?
Society organizations are going to be doing a lot with political parties. Civil society organizations have that onerous responsibility of voter education because this falls within the purview of voter. Even the National Orientation Agency is supposed to do, which civil society organizations have also taken up to do. So it's a tripartite engagement. In fact, the political parties them are supposed to engage in political education. So I see a role for National Orientation Agency. I see a role for INEC. I see a role for media. I see a role for civil society, and I see a role for political parties. So it's a multi-stakeholder issue. I recall that maybe I should use this opportunity to say uh, there are a lot of timelines that have changed in the electoral 2022. Majorly, almost all the major highlights or provisions of the Electoral Act have their timelines changed. For instance, campaign period used to be 90 days. Today, campaign period has been extended to 150 days. Before now, candidates' nomination has to be processed, concluded within 90 days to election. Now it is 180 days to election. You have to conclude according to section 29, subsection 1 of the Electoral 2022. Then even the campaign finance ceilings have changed. You possibly know that presidential now to spend not more than 5 billion on their campaigns, while the governors are not to spend more than 1 billion. From the 200 million that was pegged for 2010 electorals, now is 1 billion for governorship candidate, 100 million for senatorial candidate, and 70 million for House of Reps candidate. And the list is councillorship candidates who are supposed to spend not more than 5 million on their campaigns. So all of these timelines have changed. But beyond the timelines, there have also been a serious change in the punishments, fines and punishment for infractions or for electoral offenses. Many of the fines have been reviewed upward. There are places where the initial fine was 500,000, which has now, the ones for 100,000 now have even jail term of 1 year or 3 years, and all of that. So you need to be aware of all of this, because like it said, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. You cannot say, oh, sorry, I didn't know, I don't have a copy of electoral, that's why I didn't know. As a political party which is supposed to have a national spread, don't forget, they are supposed to be national in outlook. You do not have that excuse. So apart from political parties, even the contestants themselves have the duty to educate their members, because if your members go and perpetrate electoral violence on your behalf, you can go in for it. There are serious provisions, very stringent punishment for anyone that engages in electoral violence. So we need to caution our loyalists, our aides, our members of our party. And so to summarize, orientation agency, the media, the civil society, INEC, as well as the political parties and candidates, all of us have roles to play in political education and voter education ahead of 2023 elections.
Thank you so much for talking to us this morning, Jide Joe. It's been really very interesting and insightful, and we hope to have you in the studio next time.
Thank you very much. To be on this show this morning.